everyone for being here today. It's good to see everyone. Did you miss me? Not so much. Not so much. First off, March Madness is a great time of year for the Spartans, and just want to congratulate Coach Izzo on making his 24th consecutive NCAA tournament, which is the longest streak in Big Ten history, which is amazing to me. And also for becoming the all-time winningest coach at a Big Ten school. Some amazing accomplishments. Coach Izzo, we all know he's a great guy. He's a great coach. He's been really special to me. He's been very helpful since the day that I got here. I mean, he's welcomed me, and I've learned a lot from him. We talk pretty much every day, or at least text, and I'm really pulling for him. And what a treasure that we have here with Coach Izzo, and we'll never get tired of him. I can tell you that much. I'm really excited to get started with spring ball. I mean, the guys have worked really hard in our Spartan training program. We have about 8 weeks of strength and conditioning with Coach Novak and his staff. The guys run, they lift, and we do stations, and the guys are really straining. We got some new guys, we got some transfers, we got some mid-year high school guys, and then all the returning guys just really preparing to get ready for spring ball. And that's part of the process, you know. They really didn't take much time off. Guys really started this off season pretty much in shape, and we just picked up where we left off, and I want to see who can play, you know, like in the spring. That's the big thing. We're going to install our schemes. We're going to offense, defense, and special teams, all the X's and O's. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we know, what our guys can do, how much they can do, how fast they can do it, going into our summer program. And the summer is a lot different than it used to be. Like, football's a year-round thing now, so this is just a process because we work out in the summer, we practice in the summer. We meet. I mean, there's things we can do in the summer as well, leading up until fall camp. So, but we will get a chance to put the pads on at some point, starting on Saturday, and we'll be able to start striking and knocking guys around and seeing who can play. And we need to develop our team. I feel good about this team. I feel good about the culture of our program. The guys are bought in. The new guys they fit in well, and we have a lot of competition. And like I told those guys when we started the 8-week program, there's no one has a job. I mean, we don't. Just because you started last season, that doesn't mean you're going to start this season. And it's open competition. There's no sense of entitlement. You'll get what you earn, and we have to prove ourselves every single day. So that's the mentality that we're taking. I just had a really good meeting with the staff. We have some new staff members, position coaches and support staff, and just make sure we're all on the same page going into tomorrow morning. And I feel really good about our staff, and everyone's on the same page, and we know what we need to accomplish and how we're going to go about doing things. And it's going to be a relentless mindset. The things that we talk about, the things we harp on in our culture every single day, they do not change. It's not just the first day. It's not just the first week. It's just perpetual motion. It just never stops. It goes on and on and on and on. We're going to hammer the details, a sense of urgency, the discipline, the teamwork, the connection, the accountability, all those things. We're hammering those things day in and day out, and we'll have a better football team when we come out of spring ball. I can promise you that. So it's a great time of year. We also had a pro day coming up on Wednesday. That's a big day for the program. I anticipate we'll get someone drafted this year, and guys have been working really hard since the end of the season to get ready for the pro day, and we have some guys that did a good job at the combine. Guys really helped themselves there. I mean, I told the scouts. I mean, K9's fast. You know, I don't know how fast is he? How fast is he? I mean, the guy can run. So, it's been good that way for our guys. So, looking forward to getting them back on campus and seeing those guys work out. So, with that, I'll open up for questions if you have any.
Yeah, Mel, you mentioned there's a lot of jobs that are open, but Peyton Thorne is coming back, having been the starting quarterback. That's different than 12 months ago. Are you noticing with the experience he's had that he's evolving as a leader now? Are you seeing a difference in him with his experience?
He is a leader. I mean, he's our leader on offense. He's made some tremendous strides. And he always gets better. So the leadership deal that piece is a big part of what we need to get worked out this spring. With because we have some new guys, and we're encouraging those guys to step up and lead. Just because you're new, that doesn't mean you can't lead. But Coach Izzo talks about all the time a player-led team versus a coach-led team. We made some progress last season with being more player-led, but not to the point where we need to be. So we need to step that up. Peyton he's leading. We need more guys to step up and lead. X is a leader. Jay Reed's a leader. There's more. Yeah, Peyton, we had an exercise about a couple of weeks ago, week and a half ago, where we had a 2-day training deal, and with a firm called The Program. They came in and worked with us and took the guys through some paces, and it was about leadership and building a cohesive team. And Peyton did maybe the best job in that regard that they have seen since they've been really running that program.
I was actually going to keep it on basketball for a minute. You are very visible at games, and you don't sit on your hands to the point where you were in the Izzone one game. What was that about? What was that like?
What was that about? I was cheering. I mean, I was rooting for our team. That's what that was about. How I ended up in the zone, don't ask me. But I was there. Yep, I was there, and I learned some things. They have some traditions in there and some things they do. And they asked me when I got there. They said, "Hey, do you want to know? Like, you want us to coach you up?" I said, "No, I'll just coach me on the run, and I'll try to pick it up." And I lasted for a half, and but it was fun. It was fun. That is on that thing. That's special. It really is. I mean, there's the deep end, in the woodshed. That's where we're going with it. That's where we're going.
Mel, I wonder for you. A year ago, you guys hadn't had a spring ball, and I wonder what the challenges were a year ago at this time that you had to get through, and how much now a year later having that experience of spring ball helps going into this year.
Yeah, so it was our first spring with the staff, so we had to really establish like how do we work in the spring, and it's different than the fall and things like that. So we laid that foundation with those guys, and it's a lot different now because the guys that are returning, they've been through it before, and they know what it's all about, and they know like that Spartan training program, that 8 weeks, they know how important that is because it needs to prepare you for a spring. Because when we start tomorrow morning, like we're going, and we're not gonna have the pads on, but we're not gonna be tiptoeing around out there. I mean, like we're full speed, like we're gonna be like hitting the ground running, and so it's a lot different. But on the other hand, though, I tell you what, like I talked to the staff, like we can't assume things, though. That we can't assume, like, we have returners, we have guys that are returning, and some of those guys are experienced, and they know, like, what the standard is, but there's still some guys that are returning that don't have as much experience, and they're still learning, like, what is the standard, like, what does it take to get the job done. And then we have new guys come in that are some guys that are transfers that are older guys, and then we have the freshmen. So we can't really assume anything. We're not starting over. But we're not skipping any steps either. And everything has a progression. Everything has a process. So, and we're just gonna be coaching some coaching Jessies out there. And, we're going to be stance, alignment, key, initial move, responsibility, technique and fundamentals, smart, fast, physical. I mean, never getting bored with the basics and going after it. And we're going to build these guys from the ground up.
And I was wondering, with the coaching changes you had in the offseason, kind of the reshuffle with Ron not being back, and you kind of split it up a little differently with Marco being the D-line coach and coordinator, and then Brandon being the pass rush specialist. I was wondering if you kind of just break down how you came to that conclusion or how you wanted to go in that direction.
Yeah, so pass rush is important. We need to affect the quarterback with rush and coverage. And I felt like with B, Jordan, we had an opportunity to improve our pass rush, and also help us in recruiting. And so I made that move. And then, just in terms of like the D-line, like how are we going to break it up? Anyone who rushes the passer, anyone who's going to be rushing, B. Jordan's going to work with him on that. It could be a corner blitzing off the edge. It could be a safety coming from the roof and timing up and hitting it. It could be a linebacker hitting it, and then obviously with the guys up front. That's how we're going to do it. It's not a big deal.
Right here. Going back to the quarterback thing a little bit, obviously when you have an established starter like this, you go into a spring and you don't, in terms of the depth, there's no real experience in that depth. And I know you can't obviously play games in the spring, but how important can that be for some of those guys behind there, or what's your approach to try and bring those guys along so that once you get to the season, if you need to go to that, you're not going to a guy who's maybe a little overwhelmed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So, they're all going to get reps, and like we just talked about, we need the practice rep. We need the practice reps to be as close to the game reps as we can possibly get, like the full speed reps. And so, because that's really the only, like, if so, say for instance you say, well, how do you put a guy out there and he's starting for the first game? Maybe he might be a freshman, or maybe he hadn't started before. He said, well, how did you know that he could do it? Well, if you see him do it in practice, he should be able to do it in the game if the practices are very similar or harder than the games. So that's how we get the guys ready. So when we scrimmage and when we practice and we're going full speed, if a guy can be successful, in practice, going against really good competition, and the amount of pressure we put on the guys and the situation we put them, if they can do it there, then I'm certain they can do it in the game. So that's how we get all the guys ready, the quarterbacks, everyone who takes the reps, and it's a relentless mindset. It's a relentless mindset. So like when the guys step on the field, for practice, like when they step literally tomorrow morning in the weave, they're moving. Like they got the hurdles lined up. They're going over the hurdles. They're going under the hurdles. They're doing joint mobilities. They're moving until we go to walkthrough, and then walkthrough, horn blows and they're there, and the guys are in the stance and the flat back. They got the chin strap. I mean, everything's going. Then when we get into practice, I mean, even when we flex, every stretch, like every movement, we're going to coach it, and it's going to be intense, and it's going to be attention to detail with a sense of urgency. And then when we start the practice, we get into there, guys are going to be running from drill to drill, and guys are going to be getting coached on every play. We're going to coach them on the way back to the huddle. We're going to chase them to the ball. We're going to chase them back. And the guys are going to take the field when we transition with groups. Guys are going to be, and it's going to be like that the whole time. Very intense, very sense of urgency, attention to detail. Shirts are tucked in, chin straps buckled, shoes tied up. You're either taped or you're braced. I mean, it's yes sir, no sir, coach me, coach. No one's talking back. It's like that, and it's not just going to be like that on practice one. It's not just the first week. It's every single day. Everything we do is just a relentless mindset. It's never going to be any let up. It's never going to stop. So there's no ability to be comfortable. There's no relief. There's no relief. It's a constant pressure cooker, and then you find out what guys can do, and you put them in those situations, and they have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, and then they develop, and then if they can do it on a consistent basis in practice, then you put them in the game. You know what? You're not surprised. Like, hey, were you surprised to see how? No, I'm not surprised because I saw them do it in practice, and we're not just throwing guys out there and hoping. And like getting back to your deal like with Marco. With Marco and B. Jordan, I mean that's juice, you know. That's more juice, you know. That's more intensity. That's more attention to detail. That's more being specific. That's more like getting after it. And you know, guys are working together and steel sharpen steel. And you know, we're gonna be putting pressure on the offense. The offense is gonna be putting pressure on us, and we're gonna be out there getting after them. And we got guys that have experience coaching guys at high levels. And we're on, you know, we got a chip on our shoulder, and we're going out there to get better. And so, you know, with Marco and B, and then, you know, with Scotty going to coaching the linebackers now instead of coaching defensive ends, and then Harlan coaching the secondary, I'm working with the corners. Like, that's juice, and we're going out there to get something done out there. And then same thing on offense, with the guys coming back, and then Ephraim stepping up, the coach to backs him. I already seen him coach. I mean, I know he can coach. That's why he's got the job. And then we're going out there competing. Everybody's got to get better, and nobody cares what we did last year. Last year wasn't good enough anyway. So it's just that's the atmosphere that needs to be on the field, and you should see that when you come to practice. If you don't see it, if you don't feel it, then I'm not doing my job. We're not getting it done out there.
How much more do you think your message resonates this year, maybe even versus last year, just because these players have seen the success? Like, you know, you use a lot of sayings, aggregation of marginal gains. You know, you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. A lot of those sayings. How much do you think that connects with the players now that they've seen the success, what the recipe produces?
It resonates with them, and they know what we're talking about because we give them examples. You know, like the aggregation of marginal gains, it's not just a slogan on the wall. You know, it's like, hey, everyone get a little bit better every single day. So each position coach, you go to your players, you say, hey, today I want you to get better at this. I want you to work on this. I want you to work on this. I want you to. So everyone's working on something. Everybody get just a little bit better, the whole team. Then you add that up and aggregate, then you get better a lot faster when you do it that way. But they understand these things. Like, they understand, like, being comfortable, being uncomfortable, because we're not going to let them be comfortable. When they walk in the meeting room, their feet are on the floor. Okay, they're sitting up. Everybody's got a notebook, a pen, a pencil, an eraser, a highlighter. They got their stuff out, and they need to be paying attention. You know, and we're making sure they're taking notes, and we're going to collect the notes, and we're going to look at them. We're going to photocopy them and give them back and see who's taking notes and the quality of notes, so we can coach them up on that. I mean, so if they don't, so they know. Like, they know what it is, and the people that have decided to come here, they've come here because that's what they want. Because when they come here on the visits and they talk to the players, they say, well, what's it like? And they say, well, it is really like this here. Like, he is like this. I mean, this is what they're like this all the time. And the players say, they resonates with them, and they say, yeah, that's what I want. That's what I need to get better. That's how I can reach my full potential as a player. I need to come here and do that. And they get here, and then it just clicks. Say, oh yeah, it's exactly what they said it was. Even more so. So I don't think there's any issue with it resonating with them. But you can't assume that just because they kind of caught on last year, they're going to catch on this year.
Right, but how much harder would it be to sell, no block, no rock if you go 4-8 versus, 11-2? I mean, like, hey, obviously what I'm telling you is leading to success. I mean, and now the players, probably have full buy-in based off of what season you had last year.
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly look at it that way, because we were 2-5, and then we went to whatever we were a year. I mean, they were bought in before we started the season, coming off a 2-5 year, because it makes sense. It makes sense. Like football is the ultimate team sport. Okay, football is the ultimate team sport, and everybody's got a job to do, and you're playing for the man next to you, and it's not about you, it's about the team, and you're buying into something that's bigger than yourself, right? So, like, if you're a receiver, you're not willing to block, okay, on these run plays, you're not willing to go dig out the safety or stalk block this corner and strain your gut to create room and make room for the back, then no, you're not going to get the ball because you're not going to play. Now, it don't matter if we were 2-5 or whatever. You're not going to play, and we're going to find somebody to play, and we're going to win. So let's buy into that. But that makes sense because the receiver wants the offensive line to strain and block for him, and the quarterback to do his job and get the ball to him. So it makes sense. We're not asking guys to do anything that like another program's not asking them to do. You know what I mean?
Mel, I'm wondering how much you relish this time of the year, this month, in evaluating your program when you don't have games, you're not preparing for games, it's not the grind of week to week. How much this opportunity for you and your staff is something you really enjoy and is critical for you?
Well, we're not game planning, and so one of the things I like about this time of year. Saeed Khalif comes in my office this morning, right? He comes in there and, not even invited. He just walks in, okay? And then he's like, hey, man, I'm so excited. I said, you are? He said, yeah, I'm excited. I said, why? He says, because it's the start of like a new year. We get a chance to see who can do what and you get these freshmen out here and who make the next. I mean, like, everybody's excited about it. It's like turning the page. But for me, I like it because it's good on good. Because you're not preparing for a game, so you don't have scout teams to run the other team's plays. So it's just offense versus defense, like just good on good the whole time, and that's different than when you're like preparing for games. So you can actually get better a lot faster if you go out there and compete. If you go out there and compete, you can make a huge jump. You can make a huge jump in spring ball as a team and as an individual. Because it's really, really like good on good, and jobs are open, okay? And then guys know exactly where they are going into the summer. They know exactly where they are going into summer. This is what I have to do. If I'm going to play, if I'm going to start, I need to, and here's who I need to beat out. Here's what I need to be able to, so they go through the summer with a different type of mindset going into the summer that leads into camp. So this is a huge part of the process.
Mel, you mentioned bringing in an outside, I think, leadership program for a couple of days. What do you think the players got out of that, and kind of what are some of the details that went into that process?
Yeah, sometimes it just reinforces some of the things that we talk about, but it's very revealing, and sometimes guys think they know what discipline is, and then they get into one of those programs and say, oh, this is what discipline really is, accountability. This is what accountability is really all about. It's kind of like an eye-opening thing. And we learn things as coaches. We're learning from them, and we're able to observe the players and learn more about our players. And so we're able to add things to our program. But I think they learn a lot. Like I talked to Maverick today, and he thanked me. He's like, I really appreciate you bringing those guys. I learned so much, and I told him, shoot, man, I learned a lot too. You know, learn a lot about the players, and then you pick up things from these other leaders. These guys have been been leading and at a very, very high level. So yeah, it was good. You'd be amazed at what you can find out in a couple days about your team, and I'm really glad we did that. It's really helping us.
What was the name of that firm that you got in?
The program.
Mel, excuse me. You talked about it a little bit in your opening statement, but with those 3 guys who are in the combine and some other guys who are trying to make that jump to the next level pretty soon, what have just your conversations been like or involvement been with those guys through that process? Yeah,
so I haven't talked to those guys like a whole lot. Some texts with Kanan. Like I saw Kanan at the Doak Walker deal. I tried to get to the other deal, but the weather wouldn't let us get up there that they just had on the East Coast. And then a little bit with Connor, I text back and forth with Connor a little bit, and I check on Speedy. Those guys are they're chasing their dream, and they're getting it done. So I'm looking forward to those guys getting back. A lot of my role at this time is the scouts. They're constantly calling me, asking me about the guys. They're asking me about our guys or guys that I coached against, or some guys that I coached before. They're gathering information, and so that's the deal right now. It's amazing with the draft and all that. I mean, it's almost like we used to say when I was in the NFL. You're trying to find reasons not to draft a guy. You're just poking at a guy, and then eventually you got to draft someone. You stack the board, and there it is. So I feel really good about the guys that are in the went to the combine. We're going to be working out pro day and going into the draft. A great group of guys.
Mel, with Keon and Malik, it looks like from social media they've been doing a little bit with you guys when they can, I guess, in the weight room. But for you, just what's it been like to see them on the bench playing a little bit, and what have they told you about their experience? And also, most important, I mean, when are they with the basketball team until that's done, or how are they gonna be doing any split time with you guys in basketball this month?
Yeah, I mean, no, they're playing basketball, and like when Keon got when they were playing school down the road, at home, when he got in at the end, I knew what he was gonna do. I mean, I knew he wasn't thinking about passing. I mean, he drove off. I mean, I knew it. Like, I wasn't even surprised, And they say Malik is doing a good job in practice, because I talked to Coach Izzo about those guys, and Keon's doing a good job, and it's I love seeing those guys out there. There was a I saw on social media the other day there was a picture like a Keon. He was like cheering on his teammates, and he had one guy. He's grabbing this guy's arm. He's on the bench. He was celebrating because they did a good job and maybe scored a bucket or something like that. So it was good to see those guys running around out there.
In terms of football practice, though, they're done?
Yeah, they'll be back when they come back. So we'll see.
I wondered about, you had a lot of veteran offensive linemen last year who had a lot of playing experience, and a lot of those guys are gone. How critical, I mean, is there a more important position for you guys this spring than offensive line development?
I wouldn't say more, no. Offensive line development is huge, and we got the coach to do it, Coach Cap. He's a great teacher. He can motivate and inspire the guys, develop players. And we have a significant amount of guys that did play that are coming back, and we have some young guys that need to come on, and some of our younger guys are big dudes too. We have some huge guys, those young guys, but they're puppies, so we gotta get them going, and so Coach Cap's gonna handle that, and we'll have a strong offensive line.
But just a point of clarity from earlier, you said Scotty's going to be coaching linebackers.
Yep. Yeah.
Is Ross just staying with special teams?
Yeah, he's special teams is going to coach the nickels. Yeah.
Just wondering, in terms of pro day, what would you tell NFL people that is the intangible that Kenneth Walker adds, and what kind of impact player do you think he'll be at the next level?
Yeah, I wish I had a crystal ball to predict that, but I'm telling you, he's like, when I talk to players about K9, when I talk to scouts about it, I talk to him about like how humble he is and his humility, and he's how he works. Like I've never seen him loaf. And that's hard to say about a player. I mean, he does not loaf. He doesn't even know how to loaf. Everything he goes, when you go on full speed, he's going all the way through. He's finishing. In the weight room, he's the same way. And he's a great, he's just a great teammate. And those guys, that's how you have a great team. Like, we have great teammates. Like, there was a company who wanted to, it was like an NIL deal. Like during the season, and they said, hey, we'll do this, and then we can give you, so many items of, this product to give to maybe to the other running backs or the offensive line or whatever. He wanted to do the whole team. They said, well, we can't do the whole team. He said, okay, well, that's okay, I'm good. And you don't see that. You don't see that from guys. Just say, okay, I'm good. I'm just not going to do anything because I can't do it for everyone. That's an intangible that teams are looking for, because everyone can play, right? Everyone can play, but everyone's not like that, and that's huge. And what type of impact he'll have, we'll see. I know one thing: he's gonna to attack everything whatever opportunity he gets, whatever role it is, whatever team he's gonna hit the ground running. And he gonna get after it now.
Obviously, Kenneth was a game changer week to week. Do you think this team needs a game changer this fall? I mean, or do you think you've established a base of talent that's good enough across the board that, where you wouldn't need that kind of impact player on a week-to-week basis?
I mean, you know what? You're always looking for difference makers. I think you should have at least 3, maybe 4 difference makers on each side of the ball. And on special teams to have a really good team, have a great team. So you absolutely, we're looking for game changers and difference makers.
And lastly, I mean, do you think with the NFL, you guys didn't get a draft pick last year. How important is getting players, obviously, to the league for what you want to do on a recruiting end? And could you talk about the impact of getting players to the pros and what it means from a recruiting standpoint?
It's important because all the players that we recruit want to go to the NFL, so they want to be in a program that they believe can help them develop into the type of player that they can get them there. They can be drafted. Because like I tell the players, I say you don't get drafted on what type of player you are right now. You get drafted on what type of player you are 3 years from now. 3 years out of high school. So, this is what you are here, but in 3 years, can we get you here? Yes, we can get you here. And so, but the players the players we're recruiting, they understand that we are just recently getting here. And so you would think that as we go, then we'll have more players drafted, and more players invited to the combine. Because if you look at if you look at Georgia, right? And I know a lot of those guys. I know those guys, right? So they had 14 guys at the combine or something like that, and we had 3. So you would think that as recruiting goes and we develop, as our program continues to evolve, then we'll have more guys to the combine and more guys drafted.
In the spirit of March Madness, I was just wondering if you could put together a starting 5 lineup of football players on your team, who would it be?
To play basketball, so I would go with you talking about the Spartans,
your football players,
my guys, our guys. Okay,
a couple of them seem easy.
Does that include the 2 guys that are on?
Yes, yes, it does. Yes, absolutely. How could you leave those guys out? Okay, so Keon, and Malik. I would say Montori. Montori would be a guy. Can I bring Can I bring Hayward back for that?
We'll allow it, yeah.
Okay, well, he could be a sixth man. He could be an emergency guy. I would say Peyton. So that's my Tory. I'm kind of small there, but I need like a.
You got a couple 6'8" linemen on your team.
You know what? Lock it. But we kind of small, but in March, in March it's all about guard play, right? Ethan Boyd? Yeah. How many fouls do you get in the tournament? 5 or 6? Yeah.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, appreciate you. Go Green.